word responsible leadership, because nowadays we really talk about this word responsible leadership, and how do we really understand this word responsible leadership? And the question that is there is it simply more a PR activity rather than something which we can actually do? In today's world where we are governed by short-term profitability, shareholder value, and so many things, are we really talking about responsible leadership or trying to generate immediate type of reward and in terms of profitability, so that me as a leader, my own benefit, that is what is there, my own promotions, my own salary, my own increments? So what does this whole word of responsible leadership, and how do we really build up that, is what I thought maybe you could have a small chat on that. So maybe as a starting, I can start with having each of you talk about it, and then maybe later as we start, we'll build up this whole word. So maybe I can start with it.
Sure. So I think for us, for me, it is more of not being a poster boy. I speak on a lot of CFO forums, etc. But it is all about hardwiring this into a real execution and decision making, governance, ethics. For us, I think it is more of whenever we are doing something which is more on governance, ethics, we try to ensure that our all decisions are clearly demonstrated. Bases are, for example, there is a book called The Gallagher Way, Russ. There are 25 tenets, and which clearly talks about ethics and governance that Gallagher follows globally. We talk about those tenets every day in our conversations across. We talk to all our colleagues saying that this is the way that company has to be. Please follow these tenets regularly, religiously as a hygiene. And this has been hardwired in our decisions also, honestly. And we demonstrate this whenever there is a leader who's doing work silently but clearly exhibits those tenets. We showcase this to the entire. A small example, one of my, and we are talking about bringing efficiencies across input cost versus output, what we are doing. One of my colleagues who's in a leadership position says that, these are the presentations that I make. I talk to clients basis data. I would give them complete decision making inputs, and I will do everything which will show clearly transparency, whether client likes it or obviously doesn't like. But I would like to present the two picture, and he's appreciated by many clients. But he's a silent worker. He's a leadership position. We whenever we are having meetings across review meetings, the first thing that I do is I whosoever has done this kind of work, we would showcase saying that this is the tenant that client first. For us, bringing client, demonstrating confidence for our clients is very, very important. So we would do this regularly. In our industry, there are, I don't know how many of you know, there are losses. For example, there is a flood loss, etc. Now, one of the clients, we got a claim settled in flat 27 days. It's a 40 crore claims, and it's a true example of demonstrating that I would prefer, at any point of time, it's client first for me. We would go all out again, demonstrate this to our colleagues, saying that look at what other colleagues are doing, and it becomes very important as a client first policy for us. So I think it is not about only talking about being a poster boy or as a leadership at leadership positions. It is more of by our actions, and I think actions speak louder than words. For us, everything is basis action. So I think.
Wonderful.
So, in my view, one may lead for short-term profits as a requirement of the job or the situation. But responsible leadership has to aim at long-term credibility. And I don't see it as a PR mandate, in a pejorative way. I feel one of the functions of a responsible leader is, like he said, actions speak louder than words, so walk the talk. So one of the functions of a responsible leader, especially if you are at the apex of the organization, is to represent the organization. See, visibility matters. Uh, your shareholders listen to you, the government listens to you, your employees listen to you. Why do we have all these sustainability reports? Why do we put out our CSR data? It's not tom-tomming for PR. I mean, there are many stakeholders who don't know your organization. They come to know it, they respond to it. This is what they are hearing. So the more credible and the more visible you are, it can actually be a competitive advantage rather than, see, it's for the organization. It is not for the person.
Absolutely.
So these are the two things which I thought when Professor Venugopal spoke about short term and spoke about responsible leadership and what it means. These two things came to my mind.
Great, and I'll pick up what both of you have spoken. I think very relevant, but also for me the way I look at it and the way I look at leadership in my company. I think it's more about that what you say and then finally what you actually do. So for a company like us who is into the food manufacturing supply chain, I mean for us sustainability in every part of our value chain is extremely important. So when we are committing that okay, we are going to adhere to the scope 3 emissions, we are going to cut down our carbon footprints by this much, it has to reflect in in every value chain. So right, starting from the farmers, okay, how much less water usage the farmer, we are educating the farmers that how to reduce the water usage for their crops, in terms of the chemical applications that are happening, in terms of the our own ocean going vehicles, how much carbon are they emitting and what type of fuel we are using to reduce that carbon footprints, how much carbons are we sequestering into the ground, are we investing in the sustainable packaging for the consumer so that we reduce the plastics in the ocean. So I think all these activities in every part of the business, how you are doing, how you are implementing it and bringing a change, and you are going out and telling that this is how we have done it. I think that's what, like living it every day, living your purpose every day, committing and delivering on that is what.
I think I just add to it. For us, I think, for example, trust is very important in our business, typically, and I'm sure everyone's business. Trust plays a very critical role. So whether it is internal trust or external trust, so behaving responsibly, is all about the outcome should be that there has to be confidence and trust
Yeah, that's how
across.
you keep on
Keep on
building every day.
Yeah, I would say responsible leadership is essentially about being transparent and being true to your customers rather than considering it as just a PR activity. As it was said earlier, that actions speak louder than words. So, whatever is said should reflect the reality. We are a regulated bank and our business is to lend money, and it's very important for us to again win the trust of our customers and regulators and our employees. And the only way you can do that is by being responsible and being consistent in how you manage your risk, how you communicate that to the regulators and to the press. So there has to be consistency across. Otherwise, a big there is a risk of creating a big gap which can harm your customers.
Uh, I, I mean, I don't think I have anything else beyond what gentlemen have said. The only thing that I'll add is I think primarily the bedrock for this is transparency, but it sits on intent as well. I mean, you have to have the right kind of an intent and then transparently be in a position to kind of communicate that. Now, that will obviously vary. Is it your internal communication? Is it your external communication? Who are you communicating to? What kind of a stakeholder it is? But I think um, there is this very interesting thing that I had heard, I don't know, 25 years back, which I still kind of think is a very good yardstick to see if you can do it. And it's two parts. It one said that 95% of people, 95% of time should know 95% of your company's strategy. If you can communicate that fairly transparently, you're communicating well enough to kind of tell by and large. For example, in previous panel, Kundu was talking about how they shared financials out there, right? I think the second part is if you are making responsible decisions, which is essentially in a way subset of larger responsibility of leadership as well. Would you be okay if it got printed in a newspaper? If you think that you can get all those decisions, all of your decisions printed in a newspaper and you can clap about it, you probably responsibly made decisions for the company, whether for internal stakeholders or external. So I think so. Therefore, for me, it starts with the intent, having a fairly strong, positive, honest intent, and that you can communicate fairly transparently.
I think the conversation around responsible leadership is the same as the conversation around fundamental duties. We all remember our fundamental rights, right? But how many of us remember our fundamental duties? And as human beings, because we are human beings before we are professionals, as human beings and professionals in our organizational ecosystems, are we thinking just as CFOs, CHROs, CMOs, chief operating officers, whatever, or CEOs? Or are we thinking about our people, our shareholders, the communities we are part of, and the planet, right? And I think when I look around more and more, we are being held to a very different yardstick. So today when we go to campus and there are young professionals who are about to join the workforce who say, I've read your, and my organization publishes an impact report every year. We have been for the last few years, where we make numbers and metrics which are traditionally internally held public, because that's accountability, right? That's walking the talk. But when young emerging professionals say that you've got significant cloud spend, do you know what cloud investment is doing to the planet? And how are you converting your options into having better sustainability impact? That then forces you to be more responsible. So that's when you start looking at the emissions impact of every decision that you take. Do you really need people to fly halfway across the world at the drop of a hat? Or can you use technology more responsibly, right? Just as an example. It's not, okay, I would be inauthentic if I said it's 100% not about the PR. It is partially about the PR, because we want our organizations to look good. We want our ecosystems to look good. But I think that we are also at that cusp where, along with the look good, there is a lot of focus now on the authenticity, because that's what our people expect from us. And the conversation, I think in the previous panel also, there was a conversation around purpose. The more we are building purpose-driven organizations, the more responsible leadership is at the heart of that, of living that, not just talking about.